Nice, nice.
Loud and clear, loud,
So we're
loud
good to
and
go.
clear. Yeah, it's good to have you here, bro.
Good
So
to be
good to
on the
have you
show.
here.
Good to be on the show. It's been a long time coming, and
Thank
I'm glad to be here.
you. Yes, and I want to thank you for all that you do in this space. I want to thank you. When I see your status, when I see your post on Facebook, on Instagram, I mean, it just gives me a whole lot of joy that I see my person, making, changing things, making things happen.
It's,
There is no.
okay,
Go on, please.
so when you say things like this, I really don't know how either to be humbled or to be honored, but I think I get it because we're connected on a much more deeper level. So we know that these things are things that we just have to do. We just have to do. It's not like there are
Sure.
things that we do because of any other reason, but because the problem exists, and then someone has to be in the forefront fixing it, and that's what we do.
Wow, thank you. One of the uh, I don't know but it's something that is normally said that you could have been doing something
Yes,
else.
yes,
Do you understand? You could have been you could have been in the banking sector and still be making
exactly.
impact. Okay, you could have been in another sector and you will still be making impact. But that people like you chose this profession is the key, is what we are celebrating. That people like you decide to look at the lives of the lives of this younger generation and decide to do something about it, not just waiting on other people to do it, but taking up the responsibility to do it. And trust me, I do not take that lightly. I take it so serious, and I want to thank you for all of the things that you do, bro.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
So, because we've started the
Oh
conversation
yes,
already.
yes, we have.
Yeah. So, but I think let me quickly just read the bio so that viewers can understand. They need to know. It's very brief. I'm glad it's very brief. So, Olanrewaju Yusuf is a
Yes.
teacher. Thank you. It is, this is when I introduce myself, I say, my name is Oluwaseyi Anifowose, and I am a teacher, So, Olanrewaju Yusuf is a teacher, language and communication specialist, and social development enthusiast. This is interesting. His career as an educator spans over a decade and has seen him teach across the educational spectrum from primary to tertiary institutions. As a humanist, he channels his experience in education to social development, leading the Give Back Group, a volunteer-driven social development organization that has touched more than 5,000 direct beneficiaries in less than 2 years
Yes,
of its existence.
yes.
He is a lifelong. So in less than 2 years, 2 years, you have been able to touch well over 5,000. And I'm sure this is what you can
Yes,
put
yes.
together. I'm pretty sure it's more
The
than this.
conservative estimate.
Yes. So I mean, the Give Back Group. Why are you doing this? Why, if you could have been doing something else, you said it and it's here. It's a volunteer
Yes.
organization. You are doing it for humanity. So why are you doing what you do? Let's start from there. How did you start the Give Back Group thing? Because we're looking at expanding your sphere
Beyond
of
the classroom.
influence beyond the four walls. Do you understand? We want teachers to understand that you should not be limited. There is more that you
Exactly.
can do beyond that, beyond those walls. So please talk to us.
Okay, this is a quite interesting question. It's a leading question. I think it already gives me all the answers that I need, and you to all the answers that you need. So I'll start from expanding my influence beyond the four walls of the classroom. One of the things I've learned in this journey is that being a teacher, right, it's like a natural progression into becoming a social development person. As a teacher, it's like a training ground for working in social development. And why is that? As a teacher, most of the skills that people who work in that space need are the things that you already use. You need to be a good public speaker. You need to be able to communicate with people. You need to have empathy. You need to be concerned about the people who are at the receiving end of the knowledge that you share. All of these things, all of my experiences as a teacher in the classroom prepared me for this role. So it was like a natural shoe-in for me, and it was easy to do it. So why do I do this? There are a lot of reasons that I could give for doing this, but I'll just give 3 important reasons. The first one is this: the problem exists. So when people ask me, why are you doing this? I'll tell them that there's a problem. It exists. So automatically, nature abhors a vacuum, right? So if there's any vacuum anywhere, nature will fill it. So the problem exists. There's a vacuum created somewhere. Naturally, some people will be directed towards filling that vacuum. I think I'm just lucky to be one of those who was chosen or who was selected to fill that vacuum. The second reason is this. I had a middle class background growing up. I was neither very rich nor was I very poor. I was sort of just in the middle field. And I had the privilege of seeing how people from both sides of the divide learn and how they grew up. And I always consider myself to be lucky to escape the fate that a lot of millions of people are subjected to. And so after escaping that fate, the only way that I could probably thank God for that would be to give back to that community that I escaped from, to give back to that society that I probably put a positive story from. Let's have more positive stories from that community. Let's not have just a handful. Let's not have a number of people who would say, oh, I didn't have shoes when I was young, now I'm a president. No, let's have hundreds of people who did not have shoes who are now doing well. And I can be a catalyst for that. And I think that's one of the reasons. And the third reason why I'm doing this, the third reason why this is something that I am really invested in is because I learned about the Japanese concept called Ikigai. So it means that it's like a nexus for everything in your life. What you like doing, your passion, what you get paid for, and what you would do even if you don't get paid. At the middle of all that is the Ikigai. That's the thing that connects all of those areas of your life. I think for me, Give Back Growth is my Ikigai. It connects everything. I'm passionate about it. I would do it probably if I wasn't getting paid. I have the skills to do it and get paid, and then I can also do it well. So why not do it? So those are the 3 reasons why I do what I do.
Wow. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you very much.
And it's just one more question, and I'm probably going to be. I'm trying not to. See, this is it. You have said it. See, the goal of this conversation is for teachers to understand that there is more they can do. And you started off on that note. You said something. You said, let me rephrase. I put it. I said, your present experience as a teacher prepares you for something greater.
Very, very well.
So I just rephrased what you said. So your experience as a teacher, your capacity as a teacher is a preparation for a greater level of something bigger. And this was the same concept that Mrs. Okeinfo mentioned when she was in this series. She said that, there are many things that teachers don't understand. For you to teach, it requires you to profile your students. So that means you're a profiler. For you to teach, you have to organize your class. It means you are an organizer. Do you understand? There are so many subsets of what we do, and we don't understand that we can literally pick some of those things and run with them. Again, one of the things I wrote in my book is I think I came across a number of many present politicians. I mentioned it when we're having one live Instagram live some time ago. Many of these politicians, as a matter of fact, all of the leaders in the First Republic in Nigeria, they had classroom experience. Up till 2021, our vice president has a classroom experience over many African leaders. Many African leaders from Mugabe to Nkrumah, many of them had classroom experience. Barack Obama, many of, so I began to understand that there is more to the teaching profession that we knew or that we know. So please, how can teachers expand their affairs? How can they expand their impact beyond just limiting themselves to the classroom?
That's a huge question. That's a huge question, and I think it hits the nail on the head. I consider myself to be the sum total of all the experiences that I've had, and some of those experiences might even be things that just the passing, fancy, and then you just pick up something from them. The statement that I made about the teaching profession preparing you for something greater, which you paraphrase, is derived from a lot of sources. Luckily for me, most of those sources have been on this show. And, that's a quite interesting thing. Your book, I remember seeing the video that you did about Nkrumah, about, Awolowo, about all of these First Republic leaders, and most of these leaders having teaching experience. And then it sort of just solidified what I'd always known, that I think the teaching profession is a breeding ground for leaders. The teaching profession, the classroom, is a breeding ground for teachers. And I'm not even going to go into the different subsets of skills that teachers have that normally equips them for a future that is brighter and greater than wherever they think they are right now. I remember the book, The Right Teacher. The book, The Right Teacher, was written by Dr. Abimbola.
Dr.
Who happens to be my former boss. I remember when I was in the Middle East, she sent the manuscript of the book to me to look through, just review the manuscript before it goes to print. And when I was going through it, it was quite instructive that most of the things that I was seeing there were the things that you would see in a book meant for CEOs, in a book meant for Fortune 500 leaders. And I was thinking, do you really need all of these skills just to teach primary school students? You understand? Which shows you that what we do is a very, very fertile ground for people who are smart enough to harness that. That is why when you are in the classroom, give it your all. If you want to expand your influence beyond the spheres of the classroom, when you are in the classroom, give it everything you've got. Because you really do not know when one particular experience in the classroom would be what would propel you to the heights that you never dreamed of. I'll give you 3 illustrations for that. The last mental health summit that was held by NDLEA in conjunction with the National Ministry for Youth and Sports, I was expected, my job was to provide young people who would be on the panel as discussants, right? Now, when the young people that I brought there, we drew people from University of Ekpoma, University of Benin, University of Ibadan. I brought people all over from Nigeria. So when I got them to the hall in University of Lagos and they were meant to just get on stage, show us what you've got so that we can select you for the panel, they had all these young people sitting on stage and they were supposed to just talk. As a teacher, natural, just a natural consequence. I've led literary and debating society, I've done things like that. So when these kids were talking, I couldn't just sit back. I had to get on stage. No, you say this. No, you say it this way. So if you get a question like this is what you would hear that would lead you to say this. And I remember clearly the person who was the special assistant to the president sat there and she looked at me and she just said, you should be on stage. You shouldn't be here. You should be on stage with these people moderating this panel. And she asked me, and she said, do you have any professional experience doing this? And I said, no, I've just been a teacher. I've just been teaching all my life. And she said, wow, then you are definitely the perfect showing for this. That's one illustration. The second illustration is this. When I moved to a primary school, I never thought I was going to teach in a primary school in my life. For people who do not know, teaching primary school students is probably one of the hardest things you can ever do in life. It's really, really difficult. So when I was teaching primary school students, one of the lessons I learned at Kick Scott School was that my teaching went beyond just speaking good English. I had to teach, it was a whole body experience. When I'm teaching primary school students, you're teaching with your head, your hands, gestures. You have to be very engaging. And how did this later turn out to be a positive for me? When I started my social development work and we were doing something called street school. Street school would go to different underserved locations, low income community, would gather the kids on the road, and then would get a sense, and then we'll start teaching them. Someone asked me and said, do you know these kids before? And I'm like, no, I don't need to know them. As a teacher, I've been trained to get into any situation, in the next 3 to 5 seconds, create a rapport, instant rapport with the kids. Now I'm outside, I'm in the world out there, and that skill is turning out to be something very relevant. Very, very relevant. The third illustration is this. As a teacher, we all hate record keeping. I'm very sure that this is something that most young teachers hate. You know, write lesson notes, write lesson plan, mark, and you're like, why all of these details? Why do I have to keep on keeping all these records? When we started this social development organization, one of the things that I realized was that you need a data-driven organization if you intend to attract the kind of international exposure, or the kind of international funding that can help you push your job. Rhoda Dibo is on this live call, and she's one of the greatest disciples of data-driven. Everything you ask her, she's just very much data-driven, data-driven, data-driven. How did she get that? What made that sink in for her? All her years of working as a teacher, she depended on what? On data. It's the data that you acquire, that you gather from your students. You are having an open day session with a parent. What are you going to tell the parent if you don't have data on the kid? How are you going to defend all these things that you've done? Now, years later, I'm out of the classroom. Well, I'm still in the classroom actually, but I'm out of the classroom, the normal classroom. And this experience, this skill is turning out to be a lifesaver for me in what I do. Those 3 illustrations tell you how, as a teacher, your goal shouldn't be, how can I expand my influence? Your goal should be, where I am right now, how am I maximizing the influence that I have? Keep on doing what you're doing. Hone yourself. Become the best at what you are doing at that particular point in time. And I can assure you that when the opportunity comes for you to move out of that classroom, definitely you would not have to learn or relearn those skills. It will just be a perfect shoe-in for you. And I think that perfectly answers the question.
Oh my God. Own your space. That is profound. Own your space. Own it. Own that space. Even while in that classroom, own that space. Rhoda, okay, you just mentioned Rhoda she's live with us, and she said something. She said, pointing out skills teachers exhibit in the classroom are executive traits needed in the workplace. I mean, I just wish teachers can get it. I just wish many teachers can get to that point of understanding that we are much more. I mean, I don't know how to say this, but thank you so much. We are much more. The classroom, in your words, the classroom is a breeding ground for teachers. So when you own that space, when you stay there, you are prepared for something greater. You are prepared to explore, to see life in a different way when you leave the classroom.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Shay. So let me just point out something here. When people say, you know, when Rhoda said something about, you know, executive traits and all of that, Joseph Aishida, rest in peace. He, a profound individual. His influence goes way beyond the things that he taught. When he coined that term, the executive teacher, I'm probably sure he didn't even realize how deeply impactful that phrase would be. As a teacher, you are an executive. There's no other way to describe it. You are. See, all the skills that people use in the boardroom, all the skills that people use at the highest level of governance are the things that we do in the classroom. Your class is a microcosm of the leadership space. Your class is a microcosm of the leadership space. I remember this, my brother here who is interviewing me, the first time he attended TOSE. And I was like, Shay, you have to attend TOSE. And we got to TOSE, and I was the anchor for TOSE. I was on stage. And I said, Shay, we have to do this, and we are going to do this together. And I needed to play a much more important role. And we got there, and we got to TOSE, and we discovered that there was something missing there. There was no connection between people who were coming in and then the wider, the larger event itself. And I said, Shay, can you do this? Can you handle this? And I came back like 30 minutes later, and I saw that the convener of TOSE, that Mrs. Yinka Ogunde, was calling Shay and was, sending Shay on some important task. And Shay was there in the thick of things, and he was handling, coordinating an event that was his first time attending, an event that is reputed to be Africa's biggest education fair. What prepared him for that role? All the many, many experiences that he's had in the classroom. And it's not, people believe that you have to be a teacher leader to be able to do this. No, you don't have to be the head of department. You don't have to be the principal or the vice principal. Just an ordinary classroom teacher has all the skills that is needed to translate into an executive leader. The earlier we realize this, the better for all of us in the education space.
Thank you, boss. Thank you. I mean, this country is just blessed with people like you. The education sector is blessed with people like you. And of course, I am privileged and I'm blessed to have known you. Thank you so much. Thank you, bro. All right, we'll keep the conversation going. Let me invite our other speakers. Thank you so much. So please, I think I have to say this. Your present experience as a teacher prepares you for something greater. I mean, the classroom is a breeding ground. These are things, these are quotes that, I probably have to put out there for people to see. Yes. Yeah, that's your thoughts are deep. Thanks for sharing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll have to let you go.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right. So, I mean, that's quite amazing. That is amazing. That's amazing. There is so much about the teaching profession. There is so much about the teaching profession. I mean, there's so much that we can do. I don't even know what to say right now. Okay, so I have two other speakers that will be joining me shortly. Potential Kemi, would you please send me I'm trying to send you an invite, but it's I don't.